Today we're gonna be making 3 Filipino style sliders, and we're gonna be making it with freshly baked butter buns. And butter buns is a recipe that I developed that's inspired by Filipino Pandesal. So it's baking right now, and if you want to learn how to confidently bake bread just like those butter buns or Filipino Pandesal, then check out the course that I created. It's in the description below. I break down everything that you need to know about baking bread, the science behind it, and how you can guarantee to have delicious, fluffy bread every single time. The first slider we're gonna make is gonna be super simple. It's gonna be a fried spam and egg slider. So we're gonna heat up a little bit of oil, and I've got my cuts of spam right here in this pretty little marble plate. Okay, let's test to see if it's hot. Okay, great. Place your spam on the pan, and we're just gonna crisp it up a little bit on both sides. Okay, you could eat spam raw, it's fully cooked, but it tastes a lot better when you cook it. So this shouldn't take long, probably only a couple minutes per side. I really just want it to be a little bit crispy. Okay, great, and that's ready. Now just transfer these on a paper towel lined plate so that the oil can drain. Okay, that's the bread done baking. I'm gonna go grab it real quick. Okay, the bread is ready. It's gonna cool down. You do need to let it cool down for at least 10 minutes before you use it. Otherwise, if you cut into it too early, it'll be gummy. All right, and now I'm just gonna scramble an egg. A little sprinkle of salt. Even though the spam is salty, you still wanna add a little bit of salt to your egg so it has a little bit of flavor. And then pepper. Okay, and then just fish out your egg. Okay, so now the spam is done. We're gonna go through the other meats, and then we're gonna assemble all the sliders at the end. Next up, we're gonna make corned beef sliders. I'm gonna make it how my family always made it for us for breakfast time. So add a little bit of oil, but there's also gonna be oil in the corned beef, so you don't really want too much. This is half of a large onion. And you wanna cook this over low heat until it's translucent and very soft. I don't want any crunchy bits in my corned beef. Okay, and then when the onions get a little bit translucent, we're gonna add some chopped potatoes. So the smaller that you cube these potatoes, the faster they will cook. So I chop them up into little tiny pieces. And basically we're gonna cook these both over low heat until both of them become very soft. By the way, make sure you use either a red or yellow potato. If you use a russet potato, that's fine, but it will disintegrate into whatever you're cooking it into. So at this point, just add a sprinkle of salt, since the corned beef is gonna be salty, but you still want the flavors of the potato and the onions to come out. And then a little bit of pepper. If this is happening to your pan, that's okay. We can deglaze it later when we add the corned beef. Okay, perfect. So the potatoes are soft. Now we can add the corned beef. So this is a canned corned beef that I got from my local Filipino supermarket. There's a few kinds. You can get corned beef hash, and you can get the chunky kinds. This one was actually the chunky kind, but you don't want the big chunky pieces. I think that's more like American corned beef. So I want the ones that break up into little chunks like this. Okay, and then you can start scraping the bottom of the pan, because remember it was sticking earlier. Now with all the oil from the corned beef, it can come off a lot easier. I have eaten corned beef straight out of the can before. It's not the best tasting, so just heat it up for a few minutes before making your sliders. All right, one last check on the fattest potato that you can find. So here's the fattest one, and just poke it. Oh my God, it's perfect. Okay, that's fully cooked. Now we can turn this off. For less dishes, I'm gonna put the corned beef back into the bowl, because remember, it was already cooked out of the can anyway, so it's safe to do this. Ta-da! Now here is our corned beef. So now we're gonna set this one aside, and now we're gonna wipe down our pan. I'm a huge fan of just using the least amount of dishes as possible. For our last slider, we're gonna be cooking longganisa. And longganisa are Filipino sausages. And there's different types of longganisa. There's so many. The most popular ones are usually sweet. This one is different. I got this from my parents. This one is more of a spicy flavor. So choose whatever you want. Go to your local Filipino supermarket to see the types of longganisa that they have. And to cook longganisa, you can fry it up, but the way my dad taught me to do it is you're gonna be using water to cook it. And then I'm gonna plop the longganisa in there. I actually don't have a lid for this pan, so I'm just gonna bear with me. I'm using this other pan that I have. So what we're essentially doing here is we're kind of steaming the longganisa, and this will probably only take maybe 10 to 15 minutes. So periodically check to see if your longganisa is done. We're just gonna let the longganisa cook in its own oil for just a few minutes, flipping it on each side. It feels so good when you only use one pan for like 3 different things. Okay, so here are the freshly baked butter buns. They're fully cooled down. Now let's start by assembling our Spam slider. Then grab your Spam, place your egg on top, and then we are going to grab a few of these condiments to add on our sliders. So here I've got some sliced cucumbers, some sliced tomatoes, and this is called atchara, which is pickled vegetables. And in here you've got pickled green papaya and pickled carrots. So we can put any combination of these things on our sliders. For the Spam and egg one, I'm just gonna put maybe a tomato. And there we have it. Here is our Spam, egg, and tomato slider. This is basically like Filipino breakfast in a slider. Next, let's grab another butter bun, and we're gonna assemble the corned beef slider. So for this one, dollop a hearty amount of corned beef. And then for this one, I'll just put some of the atchara on top. So this is a little bit sweet and it's sour, which will perfectly balance out the saltiness and the fattiness of the corned beef. Let's add a cucumber, why not? Now here is our corned beef slider. Oh, this one's gonna be so good. I cannot resist corned beef. And finally, we're gonna put together our longganisa slider. It's so different when you have freshly baked bread. First of all, your house smells really good. And then also, it makes such a huge difference in taste. So for these longganisa, you could just put it on top. You could also slice it so that it's not like popping out when you're eating your slider. We're gonna add the cucumber at the bottom. Then I'm gonna add the longganisa on top. And then I'm just gonna add 1 tomato to top it off. There it is. Ooh, this one's really tall. There's our longganisa slider. Perfect. Now, why stop there? We still have plenty of butter buns and we have all these different things that we can put in it. So just go ahead, mix and match, and create your dream slider. So for me, if I was gonna make my dream slider, ta-da! So I would make basically a Spam corned beef slider with atchara and tomato. This one's pretty hefty. I mean, these butter buns don't look like they're that big, but when you start piling stuff in there, that's it. Here are our 3 Filipino sliders that's made in just one pan, and there's so many possibilities out there in making Filipino style sliders. So let me know in the comments below if you have any other ideas. I'd love to hear them. If you enjoyed this video, give this a thumbs up and then subscribe for more delicious weekly videos. I'll see you all next week. Bye!